Every year on August 19th, something extraordinary happens. It is not just a date on the calendar. It is a moment when humanity shines its brightest.
My name is Kemi. My story with ActionAid is that of resilience and determination. And I know I speak for a lot of staff within the organization, particularly those that have worked and are working in northeastern Nigeria and other locations where we deliver humanitarian services. I believe the determination is what keeps us going. It's what keeps me going in doing the work that we do.
World Humanitarian Day is here, a day when we come together, bound by compassion to uplift those who need it most. In the heart of Nigeria, ActionAid stands as a beacon of hope, a symbol of change. We're not just an organization, we are a family of dedicated souls driven by the belief that every life matters.
ActionAid humanitarian work or response generally is enshrined within our humanitarian principle and signature, and we also comply with the World Global Humanitarian Standard, that's called humanitarian standards, recognizing that the human have the right to live irrespective of the situation they find themselves, and their rights has to be protected, but they have also the right to decide the kind of response or relief that comes to them.
So within the humanitarian intervention or programming, it's important that we do the work that we do in dignity, respecting the rights of the persons for whom we are intervening or supporting at a particular moment. Because we know that sometimes in the emergencies and humanitarian situations, people tend to forget that people should be treated with respect. And so our principle of value of working with mutual respect comes in very handy for us in the work that we do.
Staff face a number of crises, barriers during crisis or emergency response. One has to do with the issue of insecurity, the challenge of fear of kidnapping and abduction is very, very key. And then the issue of resources availability within the crisis zone, and the issue of trust and interference by some of the duty bearers, where we intend to work based on our accountable systems that identify the right people that require support. Sometimes we experience the issue of people who are duty bearers at that level who wants to divert or want us to serve a particular group of people based on their own criteria, either due to the issues around conflict of interest or because they feel that they are a kind of political alliance.
So on the ground, we are faced with emerging needs, emerging challenges, but we also have this limited resources to be able to respond to them. That is one challenge. But of course, there are many other challenges that humanitarians face. There are the challenges of being targeted by terrorists, for instance. In the northeast of Nigeria, we've had several humanitarians who have been kidnapped. Some have even paid the supreme price in the course of duty. But this is what we signed up to ensure that we improve the lives of people.
Imagine a world where kindness reigns, where a helping hand is always within reach.
Working in this sector for over 2 decades plus, one would have gathered so much experiences. But what is important for me is not just that the experience that I have lived working in this area, but how have I been able to impact the persons for who I am providing response or intervention for? How do I treat them? That's particularly important to me. But in terms of responding to your question specifically, I recall that there was a time, it's not necessarily a humanitarian situation, but I have had to cross a river, a flowing river, to access a particular community in Delta State. I remember that I went with one of my colleagues and we entered a tiny boat, and my heart was in my mouth, panting, thinking, will I be able to get to where we are getting to? And I was literally afraid. But of course, because you know that the work that we do is about touching lives, it's about affecting people, right? It's about doing the things that we know that this is our calling, this is our passion, living our experience, or living our passion rather. So I braced myself and I made it. So once I got out of the boat, I just did yay! And then we went and delivered the intervention. And then also, as we are coming back, once we got back to that river bank again, my heart started cutting. But I consoled myself. I said, well, you came here, you will also go back.
Accountability to the affected person is a key pillar when we talk about ActionAid humanitarian signature. For us, we ensure that people are consulted during their crisis situation, that their needs, they have the opportunity to say what their needs are, to inform our programming by contributing to what they think would make an impact most in their lives. We pay very close attention to their needs, their protection needs. So we have, for instance, deployed very active and very robust complaint and response mechanisms to ensure that we are on a daily basis getting feedback from the beneficiaries on their perception of the project, if there are any challenges, if they are encountering any problems, and if they have any suggestions to improve our work.
Through the challenges and triumph, the tears and smiles, ActionAid Nigeria is there, empowering, advocating, and transforming.
Insecurity is a significant barrier in the work that we do. The risks are huge and real, but so is also the commitments of ActionAid to the people that we work with, to the people whose lives we're making a difference. So I wake up every day with a renewed hope and commitment that regardless of the situation of the nation, the people that we serve, they need us, regardless of what is happening, regardless of how I feel, they still need us to support them and help to make changes in their lives. There are actually lots of scary experiences that I've had, and there's been some near misses too. Accessibility is another significant barrier that we face in line of duty. Most of the communities that we work, they're actually very far, extremely far from town. And getting to these communities is where we have the challenge is. We have communities in Nasarawa that for you to get to the community, you'd have to climb over a mountain. And this is the community that we actually constructed a school. So you can imagine that. How did we construct that school? How did we provide all of the materials for building the school and for construction of the school? So that community, you'd have to climb over the mountain to get to the community. We also have communities in Delta State that you'd have to go through the river. When at the height of the flood, the boats are actually not even working. They use something that they call a pontoon, something like that. So you get on the ground, it's a flat wooden surface, that you use to cross the river. So we use that to get to the community, and you can imagine how scary that might be for some people. We've had instances where we were using the boats to cross from one community to the other in Delta State, and the boat started leaking, and we were using bowls to scoop water out of the boats. And at a point, even the child, a child from the community that was helping us to paddle the boat, had to get into the river and swam away. I didn't know how to swim. My colleague that we were in the boat together did not know how to swim. Yet, but by some miraculous ways, we found ourselves at the next community. So there are a lot of communities like that, and we also have communities that you literally have to travel through a bush path to get to the community. I experienced that in Delta, I experienced that in Bauchi, that you'd have to go through the bush path, riding on a bike through the bush path for up to an hour. You cannot ascertain what is there in the bush that can attack you. It could be an animal, it could be anything. So accessibility to the communities where we work is also a very significant challenge.
So in commemoration of this year, World Humanitarian Day, that's with the theme, no matter what, I would love to share an experience I had during our intervention in the past years. I recall our intervention in Kebbi State in 2020, where they were affected by flood, and some of our LRP communities were cut off from the rest of the states. We from ActionAid were able to support this community, but in assessing them, it wasn't a joke at all, because the bridge that linked the road from the states to our community, our local government, was totally shattered. And because of that, we have to look for alternatives in order for us to get to our communities. So at that time, we have to go to do an assessment. After the assessment, when the relief material came, because of the lack of access to those communities, we have to go by canoe. Some of us don't know how to swim. It was really a battle of, you're afraid of water because of the phobia you have for water, don't know able to swim. But then you have the passion to also meet the community, because meeting them in their community, some were staying in the primary school where there is no toilets. The children are just there, hungry. Some of them are gone with days without having food. We were able to support these families by using canoe. I come to a certain place with your car, park your car, enter the river, move through the canoe with your goods, then get another car the other side, because the car that brought you cannot cross to the other side. We're at a crossroads to go to the other community. The car cannot pass through this water, so we have to remove our shoes, fold our clothes, the men removing their trousers on boxers, and for the ladies we have to roll our clothes to try to see. You can see how this boy is crossing from the other side. We want to cross to the other side now, so wish us well as we cross. Engage another driver, move into the community, and we're able to support this community with the relief materials that we had. That for them, the smile on their faces for ActionAid being the first organization to come to their plight was something that money can never buy. And for us, no matter what, ActionAid was able to make a positive impact by meeting their immediate needs at that critical point in time. That for me is an experience that I will never forget.
We take the life of staff more seriously and the safety of staff first. So there is a level of assessment that is conducted to be sure of staff's safety and security. And the issue of safeguarding, whenever staff are exposed to the field, their protection in terms of the exploitation sexually and otherwise, and in terms of sexually, and then the other component of violence, we ensure that staff are protected, as well as those who are receiving support. Staff are trained to be sure that they protect this the staff, and they ensure compliance with all our safeguarding policies. So we are trained and we are resilient in the work we do, irrespective of the challenges that we face in the field. We are able to communicate very well and align forces with the poor and excluded during crises and emergencies.
ActionAid's work have been able to lift people up from the place of despondency, the place of hopelessness to, I recall one of the project Dare to Hope, if I may borrow that word, to a place where people are daring to hope again. In the face of hopelessness, you are working with people, getting them to understand, lifting them up in dignity and with respect, and giving them that audacity, to live again. That is different from some level of interventions that other organizations or institutions are providing, and that's one impact that we can't take away from. And again is the fact that we also, of course, other organizations also do that, but I'm speaking from the point of where I have experience, is the fact that we prioritize the most vulnerable population within crisis situation. Of course, because that is based on our analysis of power and how and the intersections of that. Knowing that, for instance, women and girls are always most vulnerable, and within women there are other definitions of being a woman that we also look at for instance, nursing mothers, for instance, younger female and stuff like that. So we use those categorizations to be able to define the persons who require interventions at that critical moment. And so that consistently stands us out as part of our humanitarian signature, stand us out from the other kinds of interventions that people are providing. And this for me is very impactful. Being a woman and being a feminist, I connect very well with that, because in that situation, in that moment where people require that support and succor, the people that you prioritize are those who actually really need that.
As we celebrate World Humanitarian Day, let's remember that within each of us lies the power to inspire, to heal, and to change lives.
Okay, so I'm making a commitment that no matter what the situation, no matter the threats to my own life, I will continue to work in this sector, because this is what I'm called for, this is my passion, this is my life, and this is what I believe in.
Today, as we commemorate the World Humanitarian Day, I commit that no matter what, the people that we serve will always matter, and they will always be our priority in our development and in humanitarian efforts.
As we celebrate World Humanitarian Day, let's remember that within each of us lies the power to inspire, to heal, and to change lives. Together, we're not just changing the world, we're changing the way the world sees itself. Happy World Humanitarian Day from the beating heart of ActionAid Nigeria.